The following is part 2 of Humor in Cross-Cultural Communication. Activities and exercises mentioned here are available in New Ways in Teaching with Humor, a recent TESOL publication. You can download all activities and materials from the above website.
4 examples I'm going to quickly show you, and they can all be downloaded from the Google Docs site. The handout has a kind of shorter version of them. Okay, so the 4 things that I do to kind of let the students get into humor and understand how it works in both communication and entertainment. Also to kind of think about what their own humor is and what makes them laugh personally, and how this may be relevant to their future and intercultural communication in general. So the 4 activities: one is an analysis of international humor. Second is a presentation of their own humor and explaining why they think it's funny. Then they do try to make a funny role play, and then applying humor to marketing, which is more relevant or practical. So the analysis, this is something that you can do just pulling some things off YouTube or anything that you think is funny. In my case, I got some English humor, actually not just English, other countries as well, just off YouTube, different things that are funny, and they watch them and they rank them. And they write, okay, I found this funny, and they have to give a reason why. Or I found this not funny, and why, and explain the reason. So they're going from understanding to enjoying a little bit. Right? And this is on the back of your handout. I won't go into detail. So I looked at these 4 examples, for example. This is a list of some of the things. You can look at this and try to imagine what did they find funniest of that list. Well, obviously, Mr. Bean is easy to understand. The more complicated the humor is, both culturally or linguistically, obviously the less likely they're going to be able to enjoy it. But funny enough, they really liked Monty Python. I don't know why. It's like 40 years old. It's really context-specific British humor, but they loved it. Things like Borat.
Too aggressive.
It's just like, huh? What's this guy doing? Jackass, which is huge in America. They found it offensive. I mean, a lot of people do. Anyway, but
Lessons
nevertheless,
and
these are examples of
activities are
humor. If you want to
found in
understand
New
people,
Ways
you
in
need to
Teaching
understand
with
what makes them
Humor,
laugh, too.
a TESOL publication.
Humor is not necessarily safe. So use your own judgment there. So this is an example of how they might evaluate it or what they need. And this is also in the handout, so I won't go over it too much. Okay, then the next activity is their turn. So we watch these examples, and then they try to understand why they did or did not like it. Next, they have to find their own examples. What do they find funny? And they try to explain some Japanese humor to me, for example. So they present their example of humor, they explain why it's funny, and then we compare and contrast and try to understand what are the differences. Right, so here's some examples. So with iPhones, you just get up in front of the class and they play whatever thing that they have, and you can watch it on the screen. And they can explain it. They rank it again. Okay, this example was I give it a 3 out of 5 or whatever, and this is why I think so. And the key is that they have to explain what was the funny point exactly, so that everybody can understand and see if we can get it. So anyway, we'll skip this. So the third example is a role play activity. And this is where they have to kind of get creative and create a humorous dialogue, skit, or situation, kind of like a critical incident that they perform in front of the class, and then we also analyze and discuss it. So critical incident, for those of you who don't know, is where this connects with communication. Because we use humor a lot in English as part of our communication. Like one good example in Japanese, for example, if you want to contrast, like to say "otsukare-sama" in Japanese is very important for relationship building, but you can't say that in English. You can't say, "Oh, you must be tired, thank you for your work," unless you're the boss. And even that's not going to make a relationship. And if your coworkers are the same level, it's very condescending. So students have a big problem with this. How can I make this relationship when I do my homestay and stuff like that? And then they ask me, I said, well, actually, how do we do that in English? And I think, oh, we do it with small talk and humor. After work, we make some jokes, or we talk about stuff. So this is very important to think about in terms of communication, how we can use humor to make relationships. So they can, yeah, sorry. I encourage them to use real life situations or things from the real world. And I mean, yeah, you can't make this stuff up. This, you know, what's going on in the world, all these situations, you can find stuff anywhere that you can turn into a humorous situation. Right. So again, this is a worksheet about how they make their dialogues. This is also available on the handout, but only on the online version. But they try to, you know, thinking about who are the characters, what is the situation, is there a conflict, you know, context, setting, all of these things are required to understand the situation. Then they start to make their dialogue. And here are some examples what the students come up with. And they really enjoy this because they all have they might not understand what is a funny show or something, but they all have funny stories from their life that they can use, or, you know, and then some other kind of interesting situations. Anyway, this is a lot of fun, and they really get into it, and I think they like to perform. So it's something that you can easily try. Okay, the last thing I'll talk about is how this can be relevant or more practical to real world skills, or even when they graduate, and what kind of jobs they'll be doing. Okay, so this is all interesting, but you know, they say, okay, omoshiroi kedo naze kanke aru? Why? How is this going to help me? So marketing. I thought marketing is really important in this way because it's one of Japan's biggest challenges. You know, Japan makes all these great products, but they're pretty much limited to only Japan. They're not, a lot of companies, you know, Sony included, these big companies, they don't really sell anything overseas anymore. And I'm always wondering, why is that? And it's the marketing. Japan makes the best stuff, but they don't know how to sell it. So I thought this is very relevant for the students. Then I also noticed that a lot of Japanese marketing doesn't use humor at all, whereas Western stuff does. And I thought, wow, that's interesting. So anyway, again, similar to the other activities, we watched some humorous ads. You can get these off YouTube as well. Then we consider, you know, who's the target strategy, evaluate the effectiveness, and then they create their own ads. And this is also interesting. They try to use humor. Okay, so yeah, and humor, I just want to add, is very, you know, why are our ads, you know, Super Bowl ads and things like that, why do they use humor? Well, it creates a positive, well, I'll get back to that. It creates a positive feeling, and it creates connections with your audience. So after, you're going to remember it. Okay, so yeah, humor is powerful for marketing because it uses memory. It's enjoyable, entertaining, and creates a positive association. If you're laughing at a insurance commercial, you know, which usually is a kind of a serious thing, you'll remember it. Okay. So in the case of Japan, though, they have what I've called Galapagos marketing. It's just marketing only for Japan. Like these kind of things, these yurukara, or these weird drinks that they make every few months, they'd never, I mean, who would drink cucumber Pepsi outside of Japan?
It's really good. No.
It could be. I don't know. I've never tried it. But the thing is, it doesn't matter if it's good or not, because Japanese love Shin Hatsubai stuff. They'll buy it once. Oh, it's disgusting, but it was new and I tried it. So I mean, things like yogurt water, which is big now. I mean, who comes up with this stuff? Right? So it's fine. I mean, Japanese will buy this, but nobody will buy it outside of Japan. So here we have the problem. So products like this, maybe you see where I'm going with this, but these might be great international products, and I'm sure they'd love to sell stuff overseas. Japan's a shrinking market. But we've got some problems. Creep means hentai in English, right? So that's not gonna really work well overseas. Pocari Sweat doesn't really sound that appetizing. Carpis, yeah, I mean, you get the message. So these products have lots of opportunities, but you have to think how this might work.
This is funny.
It is funny. It is funny, and I show them this, and they laugh their heads off. They go, "Oh, I had no idea." And they also, I get them to come up with their own examples. There's more. Anyway, we do this marketing project, and we look at some funny commercials. I'll show you the student examples in a minute. But to show how, yeah, I guess we still have time for this. Have you seen any of these? Well, sorry. watch it. So these are only 20 seconds long. So I chose these both because one is obviously funny and one is not, in my opinion. But I let them be the judge. And they both use pug, so it's very comparative.
Oh, babe, check this out. Hey, come on. You wanna get to me? You wanna get me now? Are you hungry? I wanna get it. Hurry up.
Babe, don't hurt my dog.
Come on, get it.
So this is good because they can also see all of the levels of humor. You make you see this pattern, something's happening, you recognize it. There's a turning point and a resolution. He's not killed by the pug, so it's funny. This one, on the other hand,
man, I might just chill tonight.
Puppy monkey baby. 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 Puppy monkey baby.
Mountain Dew Kickstart. Dew, juice, caffeine.
Puppy monkey baby.
yeah. So I saw a few people laughing. I don't know. Both of these were huge commercial, big successes. But I couldn't understand why the second one was funny. But it's interesting for them to compare and contrast in this way. So then they try to make their own kind of thing. They think about a logo, a slogan, a target, and how they're going to make it. Again, you can get this all off the handout. But I think it's more important that I just show you some examples what the students create. So they start to think about what works, what's funny, and so on. So you've got this kind of thing, and think about the car piece, and yeah, I love this one, colon. You know, buy some colon. So then they create their own things, and they try to be funny or they try to be serious, and anyway, they come up with some interesting ideas, like removing alcohol from beer. Why would you do that? But anyway, I was impressed by the detail that they come up with some of these. So anyway. And finally, in the way that this develops cultural awareness also, is, you know, Carpius, as it's named that way, may not sell in America, but it's or in English markets, let's say. But it is hugely popular now, and they changed the name to Calpico, which works. So it kind of creates this awareness in that way as well. So this is an interesting way to introduce culture, communication, and yeah, it's funny if you do it right. And I think the students definitely enjoy it. So yeah, I think it's just a sum. Yeah, humor is vital to communication, especially in that making connections, sharing ideas, motivating, influencing, inspiring people. It's all in there. So I think I'm pretty much out of time unless you have some questions. Please.
Just one question.
Yeah.